Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
In the present science, we call them isotopes. Let me get this thing sorted. When we call it isotopes in so many different ways, even with the hydrogen, we call it 1, 2, hydrogen 2, or what we call tritium. Or we have different carbons, so whatever we call it, carbon 13, carbon 14, and the rest of it. Or we go into understanding the totality of the knowledge, which is lacking in the world of physics of today. How do we create these isotopes? How? And the reason that isotopes are created that never been understood and it's just been accepted. As a nuclear physicist, this was one of the first things I had to understand. You call it isotopes. I call it different direction energy packs. It's very easy. I always say, if you can't understand it in micro, go to macro, and you understand it very easy. In the present world of physics, astronomy, whatever you call, you have all the planet, stars, rotate in a, what we call, doesn't matter, clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. This gives you, let's say, hydrogen. How come I lost my pen? Yeah. So this gives you the hydrogen. And then how does a hydrogen attracts an additional neutron? What condition changes it? Why some planetary system have 1 moon? And some planetary systems have 2 moons. And some planetary systems have 12 moons. Is there any difference in the world of physics between the planetary system and their moons and atomic structure and electrons? There is no difference. But the interesting thing for many of us is, so what it is, we have this moon, combination of moons and other structures. Let's say if we call it hydrogen with 1 electron, Earth with 1 moon. In a plasmatic condition, what we call in a matter state neutron and protons, they sit inside as a, what we call the games. These are the plasmatic energies which we have never understood. How come we still have tritium, but still with one electron, with one moon? So if we create a condition of different structures, we attract different number of moons or electrons. Earth, to the present world of physics, is a hydrogen because it has only one electron. But how does it become deuterium and how does it become tritium? Very simple. Again, go back to the world of creation. What do? Give it a twist. Give it an angle. You call it the axis of the Earth is 5 degrees or whatever off axis of the vertical position, which gives you seasons, which gives you different absorption of energy. So if in a nuclear science we look at the totality, maybe deuterium stays this way. Tritium has axis rotation on its nucleus field, and deuterium is slightly twisted. On Earth, we call it seasons. In nuclear plasma physics, we call it isotopes. It does not matter what sits, how many protons, electrons sits inside. In the plasma technology is the essence of the fields and the strength it produces in its spectrum. Now, for the first time, you understand plasma as isotopes of plasma. And if we understand this, now we can create nuclear radiation. This is what I do. You create different angles. We create, is it back again, my microphone, or is it sitting on the control panel? So now for the first time, we know if we twist it a little bit. So if we twist it slightly to a different angle, you get deuterium. Or is this deuterium? And this becomes your, what we call the hydrogen. Different angle in collective plasma dictates the seasons, the field in radiation. And this will become part of the teaching in the future, because I cannot find a nuclear material, but I have the knowledge which I can twist the plasma of the center, the plasma of the material, and putting it in that angle will give me gamma radiation, alpha radiation, and any other radiation, even into deep cosmos radiation, which one has no knowledge of. What's on the screen is a gold dust to nuclear physicists and plasma physicists, if they understand it. It's the cornerstone of the new plasma technology. This is why I carry nuclear material in hand without, because my body coming from deeper space knows how to transfer. This picture on the screen is the cornerstone of the new plasma technology for deep space. I can release from different position of this energies that the present nuclear weapon technology cannot even match. So now you understand. Today, I haven't given you plasma technology. This is a knowledge which man needs, and most probably is more important to you than the energy power supply you have seen. This is the secret of creation. And how you twist or position the central core Central plasma dictates how many moons you attract. What is the combination of the fields in that process that allows for it to be done? I told you, I start teaching you beyond knowledge. This is what you have to understand. And if you understand this, if the physicists understand this, a new world of science and technology in plasma has started. Then, if you understand this and take it a step further, this plasma can be energy of your soul. How does it move? That makes one character to become a murderer, one character to be a lover, and how so rapidly we move from one to another. There is no difference in the world of creation. It's the man who doesn't understand it brings that difference. Then you understand how we interact with you in the flight system. You cannot go into space if you do not understand this. This is the cornerstone of the creation and the work of create. We're still trying to fix this. This is the first fundamental teaching on the plasma technology in a universal condition. But now, for man to understand how to twist it, like the Beckham does, is a riddle for thousands of years. If you know how to deal with this atom of hydrogen, as say in English, an atom of hydrogen is and can behave as plutonium. How you twist it, how you angle it, how you speed it up, decides how many moons it'll attract. It'll decide how many electrons you attract. Because in a matter state, you look at what we call nucleus. And then what we call in plasma technology as one plasma. And what decided in this plasma dictates the position number of the moon, and then in the nuclear industry, what field radiation you want to take from which moon. The way you created gold, well, and the way we created hydrogen gas bomb.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 446th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 18th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in these weekly Knowledge Seekers Workshops. And once again, we have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who will be delivering today's teaching and knowledge of the universe. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, good morning, good day to you, as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, from one corner of this universe, in a spot on the plasma of the earth. We come back to a full circle of teaching again and again, and every time an intro decided brings back what was supposed to be taught. In the next couple of hours of sharing knowledge, we bring back a lot of new understanding, new ways things is done and to be done. As usual, at the beginning of the Keshe Foundation teachings, if there are any matters, we bring forward. As I explained to you last week, at the back of last week, we have a problem regarding the finances of the Keshe Foundation in respect to a group. And since the dispatch of last week that we're going to expose, the organization is trying to find a way to sort it out. Hopefully within the next week or two, we'll come to some conclusion with this matter. It was important that you know that we work openly, the way we open our patterns, and the way we share knowledge. We bring the problems of the Keshe Foundation directly to the knowledge seekers that we all know, and we share and we take steps that these things does not happen. It has brought harm to many of us, and it has brought a lot of hardship to many of knowledge seekers. This, what I call intrusion in our, what I call discouraging act of us trying to expand the Keshe Foundation and abuse or whatever happened. I thank you for you and many of you asking what it is. You will understand in the coming years what we have done. But it was important for us, after months of work and investing millions into it from the Keshe Foundation and support of you knowledge seekers, some of it, to bring this to an end as it was dragging on every week to next week and the next week. And it brought us as we liked, but in fact, we were in the hand of the people who were supposed to know what they are doing. And so we waited a couple of more days or so. We were told us to try to fix it. And hopefully we'll start a new era with the Keshe Foundation from now. Going back to the teachings and going back to what we said. Up to now, in the what I call horizon of teaching. First of all, today we are in a new location. You might hear noises or whatever, which has nothing to do with our work. There's a background noise. We are in a public place. You hear a lot of cars and people passing or whatever. One of the parts of the teaching, what is important, has been important to many of us in the past few weeks, has been the transmutation system, so the flight system in lens. And then the introduction of the gases as the units. Many of you might think what this has to do with the other. Energy and the gas, because don't forget, are important. When you speak about a gas is a gas in a nano state. So the body of the man is a conversion of the gas, because our body is made of gases. It's a collection of gases. So we had to understand the structure of operation and making of gases from the fields. Otherwise, we cannot produce what we call gases. And you have seen it. We showed it as a gas as energy conversion. This is very fundamental. This is part of what I call cornerstones of understanding the whole structure. We do not need plutonium. We do not need uranium. We do not need to carry different materials. As was the intro, very simply, you just need one element. This is what is done in your thalamus and your thymus. Everything arrives as a lymph. And then in these two glands, in combination of work to each other, they decide how this lymph, which is a mono-energetic, when you cut yourself, you see that white liquid, clear, transparent liquid, that is from hydrogen, has the capability to plutonium, uranium, and other materials which are unknown to man. What happens, it enters the environment, enters the vicinity of the two glands working together in a very specific condition, and then it takes orientation, and it comes to become a calcium, it becomes to be a potassium, it becomes to anything else, even uranium in your body. So it's the behavior energy, not matter energy state. In this process, we have to understand why. Because now that in the process of the enhancement unit, we make it into one plasma. This is your soul. And then the ingredient of the structure within it, which is your physicality and the soul of physicality. The soul of physicality is very simple. The soul of physicality is that nucleus. The interaction of the totality creates the dimension of the gas, the dimension of the gas, the dimension of the soul. We don't look at the proton and the electron or neutron. We look what effects they create in the dimension of the creation as a field. So now you understand how we will transmit you. Going to the transmutation, many of you came and are still registering to come in to test flight. You come into test simulation. Some of you have now signed to become mobile transmutation. Some of you are coming in to Keshe Foundation Center to be transmuted from one system to another. This took us 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and we're still in progress. This is to come by around October, November, everything goes correct, and this starts in September. We know where we are going. We have developed the technology. Our system set even today. Today, for the first time, we open the door to man in true space technology. Sometimes from the beginning of the January of next year, we offer 2 flight systems. We land you on the moon, or we land you on Mars. I have invited the head of NASA Mars 2030 operation to join the Keshe Foundation to bring the whole process into unison. What does this mean? Once we can transmute you and test you in September, many of you have registered, then we bring you in. The first person to be transmuted has already been chosen. He'll come from another continent into Europe. Those of you we need to come in and still carry on for transmutation from system 1 to system 2 and 3 to 4 will go into September, October. Here we have passed over 100, and we're still getting people registered. Mobile transmutation, we're still getting registered. The same with what we call transmutation within the enhancement center. We only accept 20 and 20 people for Moon and Mars mission. What does this mean? It means we take you from enhancement center and we land you on the location on Moon. We transfer 2 people at the same time to have evidence of what we change and how we change that the other one can see us. We allocate up to 3 days for this process. For landing you there, it will take us a few seconds. For bringing you back, it takes us a few seconds. But the process is to see how you behave and how you look. You would not look as a human on the platform of the moon. Sometime after, when we qualified enough to understand this, out of the 20 transmutations to Moon, we go to Mars. Mars is important for us because Moon has characteristics of the Earth. Mars is unknown energy pack, even though we know it. Sometime in 2024, 2025, we choose another solar system in this galaxy, and thereon another galaxies. The process is unstoppable. We cannot stop this process because the knowledge is gathering and the position has been created. So from now, I'll accept the first 20 people who want to land on the moon. Prefer to be a couple, prefer to people who know each other. We have put a cost of 25,000 euro for this process. We have put a cost of 50,000 for Mars. Don't forget, the future relies on what we established today. The Moon and Mars comes as a donation to the foundation, as we'll use different locations and research positions of the Keshe Foundation to complete this process. I'll close the Moon and Mars gap within the next few days. I know many of you would like to do this, but then after applications we receive, donations we receive, we decide which one goes and which one comes first, second, third, and fourth. As you remember, when it came to the first man was Armstrong, and we always remember, we don't remember much who was being in the second, third, and the other Apollo missions. So 25,000 is what is set for to take it to Moon. Don't forget, they pay 250,000, 1 million to be a few seconds in the air to the other space agencies, which use rocket. This position for us is important because we want to see how our bonus structure will change. We want to see how the soul of physicality and the soul of the man and the soul of the moon will create a new feature for us. And why we do in 2s and maybe 4s is to witness, to see the other, to see how it will come. This operation of the moon, transportation and transmutation, will start early next year. But we have to understand this. Those of you who come with us to Moon, you will come back as a different person because you will see the world of creation through the transmutation. You'll become mature to understanding of the soul of the creator. You become to understand you are different. In a way, traveling the depth of the universe makes you to become a new being, a new understanding, a new comprehension for totality of the knowledge of the creation. Those of you who came to Keshe Foundation, those of you who came to Lens Center and felt the change, touched by how your soul was and how your soul can travel. Now is what we came here as Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As of 2023, we become a truly space program on the levels of the energies of the universe. We will sign a contract with you on the flight pattern, which means we decide, and how we decide is our decision. You might land on the moon, you might land on the Mars, and you decide that life is so peaceful, it's so beautiful that you do not want to come back. The decision is yours. There has been a controversy about if there are other creatures on the moon. We heard, we listened for past years. There is always a talk, a 2-minute session missing from Armstrong's and communication of the Apollo to what we call Cape Canaveral, to the American Space Center. The controversy has been that Armstrong reported seeing other creatures across the great. They claim that he has encountered other lifestyle, and he could not be heard by the world of public. If he did or if he did not, we as knowledge seekers will see the true form of them. There is no corner of the universe which is not habited. There is no corner of the universe where a kind of lifestyle does not be. You know, when people go to conquer Everest, they go to the camp and they go to the final camp before the final ascent. Many people of the universe, to see the beauty of the earth, use the moon for that purpose. The final landing, the final position. Because the life on this planet is so physical, everything is observed and can be seen. So the moon has been used by universal community who come as what are called the final landing, before the launch to Earth, to come and see where Mitra was, how Mitra felt. And soon these flights will increase as we go to the moon to come and see the children of Mitra, the new generation, the daughter of Mitra, and the life on this planet. So if and what has been a mystery about Armstrong's 2-minute silence and missing of the voice communication will be clear to us. But the most important thing for us will be, for the first time as we travel to the dimension of the soul of the man, would we see the soul of the creatures of the universe, or would we see the physicality of the man of the universe? This is not anymore to what we assumed, what we thought, what we guessed. Is the reality the first 20 people on the moon will bring us back. They all will feel the same. They all will feel as they're created from the structure of the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and the soul of the moon. The important thing for us when we bring you back is how you will interact with a society here. How you will change, how your emotions, how your physicality change. Would you be riddled with cancer when you go, and how would that cancer be when you come back? If you were a scientist in the knowledge of the physiology, would you come back with the knowledge of the physiology of the universe? Because now you become universal community person, being. The first 20 people will be for us an enigma. We have to understand. Through the soul of the structure of the creation of the universe, I will be with you. To you, you'll be on your own. But to you, I'm with you. I'll be there to observe, to see, to understand how you as humans learn, how you bring the knowledge back, how much you become the true human. Keshe Foundation has truly entered the space technology as of today. We have tested the engines, we have tested the passengers, we have brought you to become the motions, the brother of love. And with it, we have put the total understanding of the creation. I will close the Moon and Mars landing sessions within the next few days. Does not matter what wealth you carry. We choose those who have sincerely came as a souls to serve. You have to understand, this could be a one-way ticket, not to die, but to be born in a dimension of the soul of the creation in the universe. You might decide to come back in time and visit. You might come back with us and bring us the knowledge and the technology. You might come back and bring us the love of the Creator. The moon and the Mars transmission and flights will be the same time, exactly like when the man went to the moon. I watched it on the roof, wondering what man will do and what he sees. Some 55 years later, I'll be there on the moon to see what actually man become. What he will behave. Would he still kill? Would he behave correct with the universal community on the moon? Those of you who went through the moon and come back will not be the same as before. You'll be knowledgeable to knowledge of the universe, where the matter state becomes irrelevant. By mid-end of next year, we'll open a colony of man on the moon, because then it's easy for us. Then we understand more. And then from there to Mars, and then the next, and the further on. There is no position on the Keshe Foundation what I call sales point to fight for the moon and Mars mission. You make a donation to the Keshe Foundation direct and ask to be on the flight system list. It'll be interesting for us to have a couple. It'll be interesting for us to have brother and sister. It'll be interesting to us to have friends. It'll be interesting to see how they react. It'll be important for us if what we call visualization of the information when you come back is visualized, not recorded on camera. It'll be in a different dimension direction. And we will see how the technology will bring a new dimension to all of us. This way, for the first time, man becomes a true member of the universal community. The moon mission, starting from beginning of 2023, is what we call the opening of new knowledge, opening of new understanding. What will be interesting to us is once you reach the moon, how come you have all knowledge needed to live on the moon? When you land on the Mars, how come you have all the knowledge? You know what you have to do, you know what to eat, you know where to go, you know how to absorb the energies of the planet. It'll be interesting how the knowledge seekers watch and learn and understand the new space technology. In a way, from 2023, we truly join the universal community because we go to universe. We leave the village of Earth, and where we learn how to educate ourselves with the knowledge of today. The most interesting part will be how you come back, how you'll be graduate into the knowledge of the universe. And then the first people who come back, they'll have access, they have the knowledge to become the true teachers, to understand, to be able to elevate the soul of the others with the knowledge. Not prophets, nobody else, but as a normal being, how you transfer knowledge, how you teach, and how you bring not only the human race, but other races of the universe to understand the process of the creation and the way we have taught you. We will teach, we carry on teaching, and in our process, we create a condition of the common knowledge for all of us. In a way, from the human to the stone, to the animal, to the trees, to everything which exists on this planet, to become knowledgeable about the life and creation. 2023, the space missions of the Keshe Foundation, it will be the beginning of what we call the cycle of change. We will see the establishment of the world peace. We see the establishment of one planet, one nation, one race. We see in our process, when we can transmit you to the different positions in the universe, the end of religions. We see the end of governments, and we see the end of what we call injustices on the name of the governments. Because the process will become so transparent that none of us will dare to bring the separation. We see the end of the racism as we all unite to become the conqueror of the peace in the universe. It becomes like a football match in a country. When we see national games from one football club to another, we fight which team, which side. When we come to the national level and international level, we stand for our nations. We don't care which team we support, because it's us. And then now man becomes united to be one soul for the universe. Does not matter what race, what position on this planet you've been born. We will strive to change the condition where man will not be known as an animal, but all of us will change by ourselves to become the banner of peace, banner of knowledge, and to be proud to be from blood of Mithra, where the Creator came from. And then the process will become beautiful for all of us. As I said, always, it's hard to find, to start a new structure, new religion, new country, new dimension. But when you give and people come themselves, they will change themselves. I always said the whole of the humanity has to change to accept peace. We will become peaceful. We become that followers of one nation football team, irrespective of our color, race, and which position in that nation we come from. And this will be ingrained in the structure of the life and the soul of the man. Now you understand what we write as one planet, one nation, one race. That's true. The transportation of the man to the universe, man will change. We become one nation, one planet, one race to the citizens of the universe. It'll be interesting when we put a black man, a Chinese, a white man, and a yellow man, or other color of the man, short, tall, different color of eyes into these systems. How would they look on Moon and Mars in the universe? Would a black man will become white on the Moon, and a white man become black on the Moon? Or all will appear as a grayish, silverish light? Then those of you who were racist by the color, and those of you who tried to change your color and saw abuse because of the color, all become equal. Would the people of the universe see us as different color, or we are all silvery, shining color of men of the planet Earth? Then it will be interesting to see what the black man comes back into lens and what the white man comes back to lens. These are not fairy tales. These are the realities which you have, and some of you already have started going through it, through the going to lens and going through the operation of the transportation and transportation lens. Book your ticket from the flight, wherever you are on this corner of this planet, to join us in 2023 to travel to different destinations, to Moon and Mars and beyond. It was interesting. One of the knowledge seekers in the past few weeks has sent us the coordinates of the landing of the Moon, saying that somebody who was there, worked with NASA, gave the coordinates. If you're a guy who was with what we call Apollo system and has more information for us, let us share. Contact us and we take it to bed. At the young age of just prior to go to university, I met one of the most beautiful, serene women in the world, called Mary Hardy. She was part of the NASA mission to Apollo. She was one of the key members of the Apollo landing. We came to know her well and shared a lot of knowledge with her beauty. She lived in England, in Oxfordshire, and I made a lot of time to see her, to understand how the Americans got it wrong and how what was. Little or whatever knowledge she could give me compared to what I had showed to me with all the might of what we call NASA, they still have not understood the totality. In this process, mankind has become to understand the totality. It's not anymore NASA mission. It's not anymore Russian Space Agency or the Iranian Space Agency. It's the human race on the banner of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As one nation, one race, one planet, we will enter and we leave the village of Earth. Not in the physical dimension of the physicality of today, not with what I call the monkey suit, but with the suit of the creation, with the suit of the knowledge of the universe. Join me into the excursion to the Moon to start with. And if we decided you want to do the Mars and the Moon, it'll be all the same. Develop with us to deliver man into space, man into the universal community, and become the first ambassadors of man, where the man goes to universe from the human race, not man goes to space as a monkey suit as a man. the citizens of the universe will envy you, that how you surpass them being in such a small village in the very corner of this universe. You will have access to the knowledge of the creation and what they dreamt about for billions of years to achieve. Join me in this, and my soul will travel with your soul to make sure that you're safe and you come back safe. In a way, we don't drop you into the ocean. We'll come to you, we come with you, we hold your hands to learn how to live in the ocean of the universe magnetic fields. The time for man to enter universal community has come. We don't look at it if it's the 1st of January, is the Islamic calendar or Jewish calendar or whatever calendar. The time comes when the man matures and the point of maturity has come to be there. But as I said, the whole race has to see, the whole race has to do, and the whole race has to feel to become one nation. As I said once to one of my children, what happened when we teach the other citizens of the universe to play football, and would we all become the supporters of the earth souls playing the game? Then we have no nations and nationality. And would it be nice to introduce a game of football, the beautiful game, which actually the ball is the essence, the side, the way the universe looks and moves? Would we kick it with physicality, or would we bring the motion of the ball of the universe with our knowledge, how we hold it, how we change it, and in a way, the ball becomes the universe and the unicorns. Here we use the physicality to create emotion. There we create the knowledge of creation to sustain and play football with universal community. Join me in this. We might bring you back to Linz a couple of times prior to the final test to put everything in position. Do not expect that you come into the system and the next time you're on the moon. We have to structure, we have to put you through the system till you settle directly for that transmission and transmutation. The most interesting part will be how anxiously we, citizens of the earth, wait for your return. I wonder if the Americans left the camera that when the man of earth goes in front of it and switches it on and powers it somehow, will transmit back to what we call earth to show how the man looks. What happens when the systems on Mars are retriggered and the power supply is established, a communication line set, what and how citizens of the earth will see the system of man on Mars and Moon. The process of understanding the transmutation is very simple. In the past, even with the teaching, early intro of today, we confirmed, we have shown the understanding of the plasma, where the field of the totality of the electron, proton, and neutron as an energy pack is noticed. One thing which many of you will understand, because we haven't been through it yet, is that when we send you to the moon from Earth, you will not feel much difference except when you enter the atmospheric condition field forces of the two planets. But what will be interesting, which will come to us because we don't travel in the dimension of the physicality, we travel in the dimension of field forces. When we send you to Mars, how would you feel? I tell you exactly how you feel. You will enter a plasmatic magnetic field of the atom of the Earth. Here you cross into the plasma of the what we call Earth condition, including the moon. And then when you enter the Earth, you'll have atmospheric condition of the moon. Of the when you work with plasmas. The present, what we call astrophysicists, the present missions to Mars have never, they've seen glimpses, they see changes, but they don't understand that they actually enter a plasma field of the totality. This we know in the solar system, with the sun in the center and different Mars and moons, we have the same structure which we call the solar system. When you enter the solar system, you enter the zone. Then you enter the zone of the fields, and then you enter the zone of the planet or the moon of the planet. This entry and exit is important and will be vital to understanding of the transmutation of the elements. If you look at it, when I create the man in what I call in his own dimension, and I expand your soul, and you become a bubble, it's the same. It does not matter how what's inside it, the totality, which creates a dimension within the plasma. Now you understand why we went this way, why we went through the enhancement technology, why we went through every other aspect. What will bring us to this point? How we will change when we enter this plasma into this position, or to this position, or even to this. In the teaching of the past, for some of you who have not understood, or in some teachings, none of you have understood, is that we speak about the planet. We speak about the gravitational magnetic field of the planet. We speak about inertia. In the world of the science of the creation of the man, we speak about the soul of the man, which is gravitational magnetic field of the totality. But what is that elusive inertia, which we have chosen another word? We call inertia as the interaction of the matter-state field strength. We call inertia in the body of the man the spirit. Where the soul interacts with the totality of the fields of the universe, where the spirit or inertia involved only with the structure of the physicality of the existence of the planet or the body. When you travel to another dimension with another gravitational magnetic field, the soul will still stay the same, but now the spirit of the man, the inertia of the internal field forces of the man, has to deal with the inertia field forces of the planet. And this will give the new shape of the man, as the man will be different. And the shape of the man will become a dimension of the existence of the time, position, and the place. And how you interact, how the fields interact. Would you become like a fish in the oceans of the liquid of the planet? You become the bird in the skies of it, or you become a man on the ground of it. Now you understand the isotopes and how we look at the plasma interaction. As I said, man has chosen many words for the same thing. We call it inertia in the world of physics. We call it the spirit in the dimension of the life of the man. Then mankind become wise to understanding the totality and knowing how it will behave. Different inertias have created gold, oxygen, and the rest. What would your inertia in the dimension of the plasmatic condition with moon will create a new you? Would you be the structure of the gold or the hydrogen? The totality of the knowledge sits within the structure of the enhancement unit within it. From everything which a man is made of, we have created a field. Do you need a bone structure on the moon? Do you need a bone structure in another dimension in the universe? Or would you stay to become newer structures we have never known? A combination of, a totality of. A way that allows us to be. In the dimension of the physical man, we are just as it is, bone stuck to each other to create the what we call the shape of the man. when you look at the structure of the fish. Some fishes have that bone structure which we are familiar with. Have you looked at the structure of the bone of the blowfish? Isn't it made of connection of the star parts? As it blows itself up, the structure and position become loose and connected. So man will change in that dimension and direction. If the field strength of our soul of physicality in a condition of another planet cannot support structure, will become the same as the worm. But would us as a structure dig into the ground of the planet, or shall we be a flying worm? The interaction of the fields of this flying worm, would it create light with the environment of the planet? What many of us have seen as a cigarette light shape floating. Would the structure of us will not support a skeleton and become the ball of lights many of us have seen with intelligence, knowing miracles. Now, we have now even brought you to understand what you see as a cigarette lights in the sky or the ball flying around is a being with the intelligence knowing where he's going. He's going fast to another place. He has seen the Niagara Falls. He wants to go see the pyramids of Egypt. This is his aura, his interaction of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man with interaction with the fields of the gases of this. Then you understand there is life beneath us, within the still different life structures and layers of this planetary system. There are cavities within the structure of every planet that does not contain anything but fields, and new life in these fields has been created. And life lives by what is available to it in the time, place, and position. As I said many times, there is even life within the center of the sun. You cannot be any different, because if the fields in different strengths lead to the creation of the man, the fields in a higher order interaction has to create a condition of life. It has to create condition of the maturity of understanding of the time, place, and position. As I said, you gradually open your eyes to the truth that when you land on the moon, a flying light does not become a prophet to you if he shows you something. You just take it as another sign of the creation, another beauty of the Creator. I'm made man in an image of myself. But the beauty of it is that I have many images as I interact in different fields, in different strengths. I made life in the image of myself, and not only that. And life exists in every dimension of the universe. It's the interaction of the spirit of the man or creature with its environment, which decides the shape of the being and not the essence of the intelligence of the being. I made the universe, the image of myself. as a light, as a soul, as a sun. And the physicality comes from interaction of the sun with its environment to manifest itself as planet and the moons, or as a man and the creatures on the planet. In 2023, the fulfillment of the promise of the past will be completed. Not by us, but by you as the passenger of the universe. A new cycle will start for the man. A new understanding. It will be like the first flights by the White brothers. And now we see where the flight system has taken us from jumbo jets to what we call Airbus 380 to rocket propulsion and what we call other labs. I'll make man so busy with the new knowledge in the next few weeks that man will not have time to go to war. Man will see no essence in conflict, but in unity. Will bring the end of the religions and man become aware of the soul and the soul of physicality and does not need no interpreter and no abuser. Religions will unite to withstand this new knowledge as it brings an end to it, but they'll find no match to what is to be delivered. By elevating the soul, we'll walk away from religion as we become religious ourselves in understanding the work of the Creator with no interpreter in between. This time is not the Americans or the Russians to go to space. This time is me who goes to space. It's me who decides, it's me who's the ambassador of the man, and it's me who has to be the best. In so many ways, you'll become the same. You'll become the first Armstrong and White brothers and the rest all together in Mongo. And then we'll see how you will land, how you behave, and how you come back. And that's one thing. We will also on you to secrecy. As you have to teach, you have to share and to understand the totality. Join me in the moon and Mars, and then the universe is yours. Because once I teach you to walk and talk, you'll understand how to connect to the rest of the universal community without any curtains, without any intermediaries, where you become the man of peace. You become the ambassador of man in the universe. Something which those of you who go to these excursions onto the moon and onto the other planetary system and into the space will be that your families will never miss you, because you will establish a connection through the soul. And they feel your presence at all times. Where in the dimension of the physicality you had to go to see or to be with, here you are with all the time. The sense of missing goes out of the window. The essence of everlasting omnipotent presence becomes what I call the lifestyle of the man who go into this change. Then we understand we just don't need the connection to physicality of us who are alive. We make connection with those who we have lost or have not seen or have been in the past in our lives, where now there is no restriction of the time, position, and the space. the soul of the son, the soul of the brother, the soul of the mother, the soul of the friend who passed in one condition or another years ago. As we live in the dimension of the space and time of the universe and not the physicality of man, which is restricted by his position and time. Welcome to my world and where I came from, and welcome to the life of the man in space as part of the universal community. Join me in this to become the first to take man into space and join us in space, that we understand the totality of the work of the universe. The true race for human race to become part of the universal community has started. We keep you in the essence of the soul of the physicality of the man as long as you wish on this planet. Beyond this planet is yours and your soul. You become the captain of your life. Would you like to come back to the life and pains on this planet? Or would you like to be free from everything and be part of the universal community and travel the span of the universe? Because once you learn, you cannot forget. We go through a break and we come back, and then we answer any questions that might be asked. In the second part, I'll bring to you a new development in the Keshe Foundation in respect to the energy and the gas unit. Rick, if you'd like to take us to the second part of the same recording, and then we'll come back.
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let's see, just take me a minute to get that set up here. Just hang on. Just bear with me a minute while I find that, refine that video.
Would you like me to carry on till you find it?
If you can give me a minute, yes. I have to go into my files again. It somehow disappeared. I think, just a minute here. Ah, I've got it here now. Okay, I'll take over. And again, this video is called "The Angle is Everything, Isotopes and Radiation." And I'll give the link to that and put it in the chat as well. And we'll carry on from where we left off.
Beginning of a new era in the world of plasma technology and physics for man. Up to now, we dealt with the matter state physics. From now on, we deal with the world of the plasma physics, the true plasma physics, not the game in CERN or tokamak and what we've seen in nuclear industry in the past few decades. You do not need much to create the effect of plutonium from single atom of hydrogen. We do not need to bring and change the condition. This is what I said in the past few teachings, directly going for IAEA and directly going for what we call the sanctions on Iran. Iranian nuclear physicists have access to the knowledge that man cannot dream. what do you want me to create plutonium in and where? 100% pure, not the way they're tackling it and worrying about 20% enrichment. I give it to you as rich as it comes, 100%. Takes me 5 seconds. This is what we say, this is what will take time to actually siphon off into the world of science and technology, and to show that with a single atom, you can have all conditions of the universe, all materials. Uranium, plutonium are on the bottom scale if man is looking for matter state. How do you handle when you have 2,000, 3,000 energy of electrons? What will be your response? In deep space, how do you think these fields of the universe get to us? How do they divide? How do they create new life? And then, now with one knowledge, you understand the soul of the man, the matter energy of the man, the what we call the plasma energy of the universe is all the same. Now, welcome to the true knowledge of creation. Now, today, in a simple way, I showed you the atom and the energy system as we've done before, and now with the plasma, and for the first time you understand how isotopes are created in the field radiation, which allows different field strengths inside to show themselves, as we call, has 1 neutron more or 20 neutrons more. It is the matter state which we decided, but as energy, the whole of the nucleus becomes one and dictates the position of that electron, or this what we call moon. So you can play with words, but the essence doesn't change.
We know that plasma emits a spectrum of fields. Is my understanding therefore correct to say that isotopes of plasma are just the use and access of a specific range of the fields of plasma?
If you understand nuclear decay, and if you go back into matter state of how the scientists today explain nuclear decay, falls apart when you come into the plasma understanding of it. And how it falls apart is that if you move the plasma in a certain position, the integrity of the field strength cannot hold on. And that strength holding to the collection of fields creates the division, creates what we call the splitting of the plasma. And then we understand nuclear decay totally in a different way than what we've done up to now. And this brings back a lot of new understanding into the whole system and the structure of the what we call matter state atoms. Then we understand, even in the body of the man, how thalamus and thymus change vitamin C to vitamin A. All it does, it gives it enough energy to change the twist of it. Otherwise, it's the same what we call lymph cell. It doesn't do anything else with it. It's like you're sitting in a shooting range and shooting at a ball in a given angle to give it a given twist. If it hit the top of it, it goes down. If it's sideways, it goes sideways. And you give it a slow and a high speed. Then we understand how the world of even biology, which we have accepted, will change. As I said, I can make a plutonium, uranium from its behavior from a single hydrogen. And that's what it is. When you eat food, becomes part of the energy of the lymph, then what happens? When it comes through the process to thalamus and thymus in connection with each other, it gives it a twist to the energy which the body needs, what we call what could be energy of a vitamin D or with the energy of vitamin C. And this is what we have not understood up to now. The speed of rotation, the angle of the rotation, we have chosen different names in direction of the release of the fields from them. If you're rotating this way, you release less energy. If you rotate slightly with a different angle, you give more energy. And that energy, in interaction with the other fields going in that direction, creates radiation. Rubbing of the hands, but this time comes from inside. This is what I'd say, plasmatic nuclear is totally different than matter nuclear. We created out of the interaction of the field of the plasma itself, not from release and everything else which we have accepted as nonsense in nuclear technology today. This is what has and what it needs to be understood. And then mankind will move to the next step.
Okay, we're back again. Excuse me, at the 446th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, August 18th, 2022. And this is the second half of our show. And Mr. Keshe usually takes questions during this time or has something else he'd like to say first. How would you like to begin, Mr. Keshe?
We'll have some questions to answer if there is, and then we come back to everything else.
Okay, well, there's a number of interesting questions here in the Q&A, and we have a hand up with Dimitri as well. So let's start actually with one of the questions from the Brazilian community in the Q&A. Question from Alexandra says, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Last Monday during the discussions about the technology that we do every Monday in our Brazilian group, we listened to the recording of the plasma reactor group where you made the transmutation test with the knowledge seekers at Rick's teaching. Many of us in our group had different and interesting experiences while listening to the recording of this teaching with our headphones. My experience was of being in a place that I called deep space. This place was all dark with billions of points of light. So I would like to know what this place is, or is it irrelevant to think about it? And what would these points of light be?
I haven't been there, I don't know. It's what we see and what you understand from the time and position. And then you explain to us. This is what I said, if you remember at the beginning of the trials, before we started LINS, that we accept, or we have to accept what is said or what people see. Some people would exaggerate, some people would make some things up, but in fact, if you've been to LINS and you've been through the process and then you come out, and we always ask questions, sometimes very deep questions, sometimes some of the knowledge seekers go through such an emotional condition that they don't even want to talk. We've had 2 or 3 cases which the knowledge seekers just want to leave, and they say, we come back and give you our report. Because their emotion is so touched what they've seen, and they want to understand. They want to mature to what you went through in the system, how they came in touch with their own soul, the experiences they did. So what do you see? You have to explain to us because we were not there.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Dimitri now and see what he has to say.
Thank you, Rick. Mr. Keshe. I have a couple of questions. My first question is related to the unicos. Now we have, oh, I'm so sorry. We have a sun in our solar system, which the planets rotate around, the moons rotate around the planets. We have a sun in our galaxy, and our solar systems rotate around that. And we have a sun in a center of our universe, and all our galaxies go around that. The universe is part of a cluster of universes in the unicos. I believe, off the top of my head, you just said it was between 6 and 9 universes that make a cluster. That cluster is one of many clusters of universes. Do these clusters rotate around a unicos sun? Is my first question. Thank you.
As many planets and moons and whatever rotate around the sun, if you understood the totality, so the unicos rotates around one sun, which is the creator, the soul of the creator, where all the energy comes from. When you look at the drawing of the unicos, especially in the back of the third book, the center point is the creator. And the rest are on their own clusters of their own clusters of their own cluster. If you compare it to the soul of the man, your brain has its own soul, your kidney has its own soul, your heart has its own soul, and then within it, there are other sections, compartments of the fields of the strength to clean up the zinc, let's say, in your kidney, another part to clean up any vitamin B's, and another one. These become little galaxies. And then within the galaxies, then you have different tissues and the cells, and then become these like planetary system and whatever. But in fact, the essence of life of this cell in the kidney, which does certain job, is connected to the soul, which has been as a center. And that's the same. The whole unicos evolves and fed by the soul of the creator within the center. All these universes are those clusters of kidneys and whatever, different galaxies.
Thank you so much. It really does give more comprehension to I make man in the image of myself. That's beautiful. I'm very grateful. My second question is related to the technology that you are releasing, these flight systems, the transmutation systems, more towards the flight system. How does the flight system that the Keshe Foundation has built, how does it differ from using the flight system of the soul of the man? What are the differences there, please?
What do you mean by that? Explain.
Well, with reduction of the solar physicality and the correct conduct, activating your carbon-14, and with, depending on the person, I guess, certain practices, people are able to fly around this universe, possibly other universes. Humans are able to do this just using their soul, the soul of the man, because of the reduction of the solar physicality and their conduct. They can fly around space. How does, for instance, is there any difference in that flight between a human using their soul of the man and the flight system that that's been built and is being tested in Linz.
The system built in Linz gives you the opportunity to show the beauty of your soul to yourself and nobody else, and to teach you how to reach it. It's a tool for you to get to know how to operate where your soul is. We don't do anything else. The flight, we call it a flight system, but if in fact, in reality, is an expansion system of the soul. In a way, it's key to unlock the soul of the man from the prison of the physicality of the man. When we go back to a lot of teachings, when we talk about from the beginning that the soul of the man, what we call the spirit, or you call the soul of physicality, has imprisoned the soul of the man. And if you learn the other parts of the teaching, where, like a tokamak in a plasma condition, you cannot hold the plasma unless you have another plasma which can contain it. So your spirit has created a net around your soul by field energy, nothing else.
Could you just explain what you refer to as spirit?
Soul of physicality.
Thank you.
In a cultural, religious, you call it the spirit. Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is your soul of physicality. In the work of the enhancement unit, when we put you in it, we, in a way, dilute this. That allows the soul of the man to expand beyond. But still, this has a limitation to what it expands to and where it gets in contact. If you have a balloon and then you force this balloon, you fill it with air, and then you force it, you put pressure on it. What does it do? You see a little bubbles sticking out, because now the field pressure creates this. In the world of plasma technology, we don't put the pressure on it. We dilute the strength of the field of the spirit, the soul of physicality, and then the soul decides to go, brother, mother, another position in the galaxy. There's no difference. We don't let this to blow up and the balloon to explode. We reduce that this becomes the new shape. Now the spirit, or the soul of physicality, is diluted inside. It'll be very interesting in a coming time when man matures in more detail in the knowledge. You will see your physicality totally different. Now we look at the physicality of the man in a physical dimension this way. But when we become mature and we look at our spirit or the soul of physicality, we will not see this shape. No way. We will see a field transition. You know, the best way I can explain it, and I usually explain teaching with children, is you go on a rope. Yeah? You go on a rope, and this is your body. And you're trying to balance on this rope. You move an arm up, you move an arm down, you put a leg up, you put a leg down, and you find your balance to stay on the rope. But your shape doesn't change. It's very much the same as we'll see in the solar physicality in the dimension of energy. We see everything in a compact. In physicality, you move a hand and a, what they call it, a leg to balance yourself. In a world of plasma, you create balance with your other systems in the environment. One day, when you understand this becomes very clear. You understand how, what the job of the enhancement units are. As I always said, we give you a Rolls Royce. It's beautiful. It's full of everything which a man is dreaming. Status of perfection when you're rich. In the knowledge of the man, we give you the knowledge of Creator. Is that Rolls Royce? Now you know you have a soul in it. But the only difference is the Rolls Royce is on the street. It doesn't belong to you unless we give you the key. It's the same with your soul. The Rolls Royce, the beauty of your soul is there. Now with the enhancement unit, we give you the key. The richness, the luxury of understanding, the knowledge of the creation. That's the only difference. Yeah, in a way, the key to the knowledge of the universe. Here you have a key to get into physical matter to say you have reached the status of that. With the enhancement unit, we give the key to be able to enter to the knowledge of the universe. That's the only difference. It's not a magic box. It's understanding the work of the universe. Understanding what it is and how we create that creation. I don't decide where you go. I don't decide how part of physicality manifests itself in that dimension. I've asked many people who've been through the system, and I said, you know, did you have a drink with your father or your brother or whatever who died years ago? Yes. Could you bring it back? No, because you're in the dimension of the energies. If you go in the dimension of physicality and you went to New York and saw your brother and he shared a glass of wine with you, you can bring still the glass in your hand because you're in the dimension of life. But in the dimension of when your grandfather died and you met, in the dimension of soul, there's no physicality because he has lost, he has exchanged the maturity of the soul of physicality. The spirit is gone. There's a difference when we travel you with the system. The spirit and the soul are together. When you die, you leave the spirit of the totality behind. That's why you cannot come back to create it. Because the, what I call the composition of the physicality to become another part of other creatures does not allow it to come back. Because if you're going to bring all the pieces of the spirit of the man into creation, to come back to the future, as you call it, you'll be a piece of worm, and then God knows the lizard and the fly and everything else. The spirit of whatever they ate and whatever children was created from them during the time of your death and this day. So it's impossible. But in the dimension of the soul, you don't have the spirit with you. You have the soul, the energy of the soul. And that's why I said, man, if man knew what happens to him after that, he has no dimension of physicality. And when the soul takes position in another dimension in the universe, then in that position, if he decides, if the conditions create an interaction with the fields of the inertia of the environment, then he will create his own physicality through the inertia, what we call the new spirit will be created. because he has to slow down, and as it slow down, it changes the same with the soul of the creator. When it comes down, it reduces, becomes the man, but in essence, the fields of his creation. Are there any other questions? Before we go to another question, there is something important, absolutely beautiful, what is going to be announced by the Keshe Foundation. In the past few days, in past few weeks and years, we have promoted the generator by the Keshe Foundation. In the past few weeks, we have brought you the gas production unit and what we call the power unit, plasma power, where the 2 kilowatts we have put for 10K and the 10 kilowatts we have put for 60K. Keshe Foundation, in this, we produce electric power. In this, we produce gases. We have, and we will introduce in the next short time, maybe by next week, a new 10,000, what we call 10 kilowatt energy unit at a cost of €10,000. Where the beauty is, this power unit is and will supply you the energy to 10 kilowatt, and as part of it, a gas production, where what we will do is at your system, you have your generator for your electricity, and you have a gas production for your heating and cooking and whatever you, a hybrid, a combined breed, never been done before. So what we do, we feed the gas production out for you. If you want to burn, you want to cook, and we feed the same gas to what we call a gas generator. A 10 kilowatt gas generator now is on the card for 10,000 euros. You've got to understand, you go and buy a gas generator, it's 600, 800, 2,000, whatever, but you have to keep on buying fuel for it. This technology, this way, you don't need, is forever lasting. There will be some elements you need to continuously to add, which is cost nothing, but in essence, what we call a combined unit of electricity and gas as the energy source is on offer from the Keshe Foundation for 10,000 euro. We'll market it, we just work on it next week or two, and then you will see one system. One side, you have what we call the pipe to add to your house, and one side the pipe will feed into a standard generator, gas generator. So a hybrid system allows, well, a combined system allows us now to see the full energy demand of a house. We try to limit this to maybe 1,000 or 2,000 to begin with, because it's a complicated system. We have to purchase the other part. We're not getting involved in the power generation side, but this is today's, if you buy the energy enhancement unit for the power, you only get electricity, and it's 2 kilowatt. We are not changing. Those of you who bought one, can I change it to one? We'll try to help you to do it. But from next couple of weeks, we allow this to come into operation. There is a discussion, there are about 72, maybe 73 people who trusted the Keshe Foundation 4 or 5 years ago, bought the magnet generators at around about 2,000 euros. There's a discussion in the Keshe Foundation. These units, for your royalty to us, will be given to you, but very, very little change of cost. As long as we cover our costs, you trust us, you stay with us. We try, even if it means try to give it to you as a cost of what you paid to the foundation for it, we'll try to do it. It's only 70 people left. Originally there were 100. We refunded all of you. And those who stayed with us with the what we call magnet generators, this unit is available, will be available to those. We have a list of, we know who you are, and it'll be offered. We leave it at your discretion to pay the balance or a little bit more, whatever, to cover our costs, but you'll have the combination of the gas and what we call the new system that allows us to come to the next generation of the work, because what it is very simple. Your gas is in plasmatic state. Your energy unit, electricity, even its light tube is in plasmatic situation. With another plasma condition system, which we'll market very soon, you'll have your food, you have your whatever you need for your processing of whatever. So the system as a whole will become a feeder, will create generation water, and will get you what you need. So the new, what we call combination enhancement unit for energy and for gas will come to, don't forget, gases are the essence of the creation of the gases, which are the essence of the energy the body of the man works. With the electric power, we create the condition of the physicality energy. With the gases, we create the condition of the gases energy. So with the two, you will understand soon, we'll market the feed, the health, what we call the processing, and everything else that you need in-house. You can make a donation for this to the Keshe Foundation, and internally we transfer it to sale when we market it, but it will be limited because it depends how much and how we can bring the gas generators. In a way, we don't need to burn the fuel, and it's a lifetime system. But all these systems has €100 per annum, what we call royalty fees to the foundation. So for next 20 years, you pay €100 per year for all the gas, energy, and electric bills you have. And then hopefully with the other parts added to it, the water and the food will come to it, which is nothing. So if you were waiting for when the Keshe Foundation would reach that completion point, now we have brought the system in. We're working on it. Maybe next week or two, we will release it. And those of you who bought the gas unit or you bought the energy unit, you have to top it up to the figure it is, 10,000 plus the shipping. So even some of you who bought the, what you call the system from Iran, which is built for what we call power enhancement, like the reducing the cost of the electricity. If you want to top it up to change it, we can do so. So you have a full generator and a gas supply together in one, what we call it, system. This makes it very easy for us to operate. And in a way, we have brought a new era in the world of science and technology, where you don't need to buy supply anymore. You create it yourself. You have the electric and you have the heating and the cooking and whatever you like to do with it. If you don't want to use the energy side, you can tank it as a gas and run a gas car, operate it, and have the energy in the house for your electricity. And 10 kilowatts is a very good, what do you call it, level of consumption. It can meet all the demands of the house, more or less. Unless you put 10 cookers on and 20 water bottles and what you call it, 10 heating elements, then you live in a castle, you need about 10 of them. For an ordinary man, 10 kilowatt and the 10,000 is absolutely perfect. And it meets all the demands. And as I said, hopefully we'll have come to understanding with one of the world leading nations. The proposals has been done, it's just to be signed in the next few days. And then it will be announced by the government, hopefully through contractual agreements, that these energy units will be allocated to one of the most leading nations in the world. And then we'll see how the others follow. In a way, in the Western world, in Germany, we do not need to see the reduction. The factory can buy 2 or 3 of these and can run the factory in for combination of the higher generator, the gas generator, and take the supply. No company, no factory needs to be shut down because of the shortage of energy, as this will meet the whole demand of the economy of the world. As I said to one of our close allies and what we call companies we collaborate with, to what we call to transfer this technology very rapidly into Africa in the next few weeks. Keshe Foundation collaborates with many organizations around the world, and this allows us to, in fact, to bring the power supply of both, to bring the change, to bring that needed change. Africa power production has reached limitation. They cannot buy gases, and there were other things, especially with the rise in the price of the fuel. Now, every village, every town in Africa has the same opportunity and position as with the rest of the world, where the Keshe Foundation will back, as part of its profit as a corporation, to expand this. We have reached collaboration with some of the major corporations to be able to expand this very rapidly. On the back of this will come the what I call enhancement body units, which are totally revolutionized in the new system and structure. So for those of you who wanted to buy the generator, we can even allow you to go to the website of the Keshe Foundation, buy the 2 kilowatt and put in the text for the new integrated system, for the new, what you call, gas and energy, and we take it that way. If you want to purchase one, don't go to the one which is a 10 kilowatt for 60,000. Go to the one which says the what we call 2 kilowatt power, but in the notes put for the new combination system, gas and energy, and then you get the full set. You don't need to change. But in time, in the next couple of weeks, we'll change that. But you have this, and then we take all. If you just want a generator, you buy a generator. If you want a gas unit, you still keep your gas unit. If you want the combination to meet all the demands of the house, is there. But this combination of the gas and what we call energy unit will come with the supplementary units very soon, where you can just add into the house and generate all the clean water you need. You can add in the house and get all the energies you need for feeding the household and everything else. Even your dog will not need to be fed. It's a beauty of it. It'll come very nice. You will see it very soon. It took us a long time to deliver, but this combined system satisfies all the needs of the energy, of demand of any household. And as you understand, I think very soon in the Western world, in the next couple of years, these units becomes compulsory. When you build a house, you have to have this in it, which means the government does not need to connect to you, doesn't need to put the cable lines down, doesn't need to put what you call gas pipes in. It'll save billions for them, and it creates a new condition of independence. So in a way, you're welcome to the combined system of the energy, all you need, gas and electricity. In a good amount. In 10 kilowatt is a fair amount for any household to need. 2 kilowatt was about 3 kilowatt. As I said, we have 70 odd people who stayed with us, committed themselves and stayed with the Keshe Foundation. We'll find a solution to cover our costs a little bit here and there, or we find a way to, to be able to deliver those to you, and then you'll be contacted through the email by the Keshe Foundation next couple of 2 or 3 weeks, as has already been discussed in the foundation, how to support those who supported us and stayed with us. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. There was a couple of comments about the microphone being people having a hard time with it. I find the audio is actually very good right now, but they're asking to move the microphone.
I think they got excited with the news.
A little bit away from your mouth, perhaps.
Yes,
and,
no problem.
There was a suggestion to try a different microphone. But I
Oh, we
know
are not
that
going through that. We've been
you're not going through
enough.
that again. No, thank you for the suggestion, but you wouldn't believe what we've already gone through to get to the point,
Even
point
had
where we
Rick
are now.
resigning from the noise. I gotta work with this. Get a new one.
At one point, it was just too much.
No,
But, yeah,
the
it's
iPhone
been,
headphones is perfect for us.
Yeah, sometimes it might get a little close, or sometimes your voice is just naturally more deeper, and you know, it's just the way it is sometimes.
It's just the way you work sometimes. It goes too deep.
That's it. Okay, so what do we have here? Let me have a look. Okay, another question from excuse me, from Claudia of the Brazilian community. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. All this knowledge that you have been passing on for 8 to 10 years based on science and universal knowledge, and we are now reaching the level of transmutation. My question is, how was this same knowledge passed at the time of Jesus Christ, since the knowledge of the physical body, the planet, and the universe at that time was very small and different from what we have today? Thank you.
Christ didn't have an understanding of, but he had an insight of. It's a big difference. But you got to remember one thing. We talk, when we speak about Christ, we talk at the level of soul of physicality. The soul of the Christ is the same soul as Moses and Muhammad and the rest. A man in different outfits, but it's the same man. And the same man speaks to you today. Is not the position, it's understanding to be able to share in time, place, and space. And the teaching is not just for math, the teaching is for the totality of the creation. As I said, when you talk about the universal community, then it's not just the village of the man, it's the totality of the universe which learns from the man. So it's just how you understand it. It's the same soul. It's the same man in different clothes. But the soul of physicality is aware of the knowledge of the soul, but is not able to share because it's not there. People are not ready. Beings are not ready for it.
Okay, we have a hand up with Thomas, but first another question from Claudia of the Brazilian community. I am studying the health teaching on the uvula held in 2014. You said that the uvula is the twinity of the thalamus. With this knowledge, can we change the morphology of the uvula through the contact with the fields of the GANs of zinc and CO2, and thereby change our emotions in the brain?
Can you explain?
Let me just reread the last part of the question. I think, can we change the morphology or shape, I guess, and shape and use of the uvula through the contact with the fields of the GANs of zinc and CO2, and thereby change our emotions in the brain?
Every time you come in touch with any plasmatic field or collection of plasmatic field, it'll affect you. The best sign, the best way to understand, if you come in touch with a plasma of the zinc or a CO2, you might feel, because it's gases, some changes. But we all know when we come in touch with gases, it touches our emotion. The biggest one is when you come in touch with a collection of gases, we call it a man and a woman, we fall in love. We change. Because now is change of emotion. Because the field, the strength received and given is so much. So we don't interact. We might never seen never touched or come physically in touch with the person, but we fall in love with and we change our life with. The best example of is the ex-president of Kazakhstan, Nazarbayev. In the 90s, usually the presidents of the Eastern Bloc or Communist Bloc, whatever, make sure always there is a news about them at the beginning. The first news is always about the presidents or the government. And they watch because they want to see what they say, how they propaganda works. I know this because I used to work with the family of Nazarbayev, personally. Nazarbayev sitting, now he's not the president, he moved a couple of years ago now, sitting, watching to the night news to see what the propaganda is. There is a news broadcaster for the first time on, and Nazarbayev fell in love with this woman on television, on the screen. And the woman never saw the outside world for a long time. She was just picked up from the television station, taken to the palace, and they have a child from each other. I think a couple of children up to now. And it just, the world leader fell in love with a woman on the screen. The touch of the field. And she changed his life. Nazarbayev changed with this love affair, but just receiving the fields. And we've seen this many times. Do we need the gases to change our emotion? Do we need gases to be there? The combination gas of what we call the fields of life makes us to fall in love, makes us to understand, makes us to change feeling. So yes, it touches emotion because we look at the gas of copper and zinc, but the biggest bunch, the biggest collection of gases is another being. Be the dog, be the cat, be it a man or a woman. That's all it is, emotion to interaction of the field. Any other question?
Okay, let's go to Ed now. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. This is Ed in Indiana. I have a couple of questions, but the first is just what you recently talked about with the new unit. And you didn't talk much about the power enhancement unit, which several of us have purchased. It was my understanding that the power enhancement unit helped the power, of course, but that it also had many other effects, such as helping you at the soul level as well, and the environment of your house and stuff like that. Do these new units?
The extension of the same. It's the extension of the same system.
Okay, so it will accomplish the same things at the soul level as it does for your energy production.
Yes, because to go back to what we said about the CO2 gas unit, that the CO2 gas unit is not a gas in the level of the what we use as CO2 for, let's say, drinking or for putting a fire out. It does that, but it carries a conversion energy of the gas, which means gives life, connects to giving life. It's very interesting. You can put two people in the same room with a fire and use a gas CO2-based structure. One will die and one will survive. The soul which survives still wants to be here. The soul which will find a physicality uses the energies of the CO2 with connection to the environment to elevate the soul to leave the physicality. Point of death, but elevated soul. You might find a husband and wife in a bed, in a fire. The wife lives because of the love of the grandchildren. The husband lets go because he had enough of the pains of this life with the cancer and the rest. It's the soul which decides. And the units which come out is the extension to that. If you put an enhancement here, that's what it does. It has, but if you go for the other one, all technologies will deliver is a combination of elevation of the soul and the food and the rest of it. You receive what you want, but as the technologies evolves, we showed 3 weeks ago, we showed you the gas power, the production, we showed you the power generator the week before that. And now we see a combination. But the energy you produce is a plasmatic energy in the house. The gas you burn is a plasmatic. It's not just a matter state gas. And that's the beauty of it. You feel the change. It's like you put gases around the house in bottles or you fed a tree. Going back to our friend in Australia, which always, Antonio, which is always around with this thing. If you, as you said last time, if you put a CO2 unit or a gas unit in the center, and this is your fields, now it makes it much easier for you. Because if you have the energy units, like light bulbs, around the field, you create that condition. And the light shines all the way through to the roots, to the top of the harvest. These are extension to the present knowledge that we add. There is no need for fertilizers anymore, if you understand how to work this thing, how to produce the gases that is in combination with the lighting or the fields and itself. No harvesting, you don't have to worry about how many times you water it. As you go back into the documents about the growth of the harvest in Mongolia, we did with the Chinese authorities. We were mature 2 or 3 weeks before their harvest, a week before their harvest. And in those times, the birds came and ate a lot of it. They were getting fed up. They've never seen so many birds eating. And even after the birds, all the complaint we had that the birds were eating, we still had, if I'm correct, 72 kilograms they produced, and we used 240 odd kilos. Can you imagine how much the bird have eaten in those 2 or 3 weeks when the harvest was already ready? While we were waiting for the fertilizer harvest to be ready. And this was only 27 or 56 days of experiment with the rice and 27 days with the wheat. We were 49 kilograms in the wheat. And in those 27 days, we added, I think if I remember, it was about 132 kilos. So is the essence of the elevation of the soul of the plant. It's not just a fertilizer. It's a different world. You convert this expansion of the fields in harvest into expansion of the soul of the man. And you can see what it does. It creates mayhem within us. This is why many of your knowledge seekers have a problem with your families. Because you've been touched by the ganses, you've been touched by elevation of the soul. Physicality is there because you have to deal with it. But they see it, oh, everything is wrong. They don't see two horns and two things and you don't need it. But your soul has been elevated and then you see the light. You see the understanding of knowledge. How many of the knowledge seekers have had or have problems with your family? Because if the technology is correct, why don't you do this? Why don't you? But technology had to be brought to the point of the maturity that everything is about. Meanwhile, you receive so much energies from the ganses you made or whatever. You're satisfied inside with the energies of elevation of the soul. Now it's time to bring that change in physicality. And the systems are set to do that, the new systems. When we show the first transmutation, you will see the change in the world about what it. When we put the knowledge beyond other points, the way we showed you with the gases and the electricity now, with the power production, we put everything beyond question. The biggest problem the Western world has with Keshe Foundation is how to handle this and how we can bring the change and how we can literally forget about what has been pushed and written. You see, the elevation of the soul comes from the fields of the universe. And if you are closer to the center, the stronger field you receive, the stronger soul have, the more powerful existence you become. Most of the people we see, we say they have a lot of knowledge more than we do, and they come from the more inner circles of the creation. But because they can go to the lower dimension, we see that man is on this strength. The ones who have the UFOs, and they come from this strength. This is the limit they have reached, but they still can go lower. And they come to us, we think, oh, they're God. No, they understood, they elevated their soul to the knowledge of the creation. But with today's teaching with the man, we have brought man to this point. If man understands it, he has not much left to reach the essence of the creation. This is where these people are envious about the man, how he has jumped the gap. And that's the gift of Mitra, bringing the love of the Creator. When you fall in love, you give everything. Doesn't matter if you're hungry, you have eaten, you have clothes. And this is what our Creator to his own creation has brought man to. Oh, trillions of years for all this to expand to get to man today has been jumped by one love. And then you understand the power of the emotion. I think he has even surprised the Creator himself, what he's done to himself. This is why Mitra understood the essence of the love within the creation on this planet. With all the problems he has, loving in a man's level is one of the most beautiful things the universe knows. Unconditional giving up everything to be able to elevate. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I had another question of a different subject concerning the soul and the soul of physicality. I've always considered the soul to be the most powerful of the two. And how is it that the soul of physicality is able to enslave the soul? if the soul is more powerful.
Have you seen a fisherman? A net
Yeah.
on its own, a net on its own has no strength. But when you spread the net, you catch the biggest fish on this planet. It's the same. The spread of the mesh of the fields engages a lot of fields of the soul. That's why I always explain, just explain with a balloon. Yeah? The balloon's out when it's weaker and it comes back and says, I had a dream. You didn't have a dream. You had a soul travel. When you keep it tight, you keep it in. Look at the tokamaks. Look at the new, what they call fusion reactors they do. Look at the CERN. We have a very powerful center, but a very weak dynamic system engages all the fields. That's all it does. When you look at the tokamak system, when you have this huge plasma created by the magnetic fields, and then you create a compress to create a central plasma to create fusion, they call it. It's a very powerful system in the center, but with plasma is connection of fields. When you spread it so much, you contain it, and that's all it is. The soul of the man is in the center, and the dynamic blood flow contains it, spreads around. It connects to all these links, and that's why when you elevate part of it, it changes. This is I've been through this many times. This is how when we eat, emotionally we change, because our nose is positioned to pass directly beyond the what you call breathing and the digestion system, the mouth. The two continuously elevate. That's the only way we manage to break into this soul. That's why different foods affects our emotion and physicality. Because this net is affected. This is why if you go back to the teaching of years ago, I used to say, when you fall in love, it lasts 3 to 5 years. And after that, you have to renew the love. Why do you keep on telling it to your lover, I love you, or cuddle you, or kiss, or whatever you make love? To reconfirm and reconfirm. Because you create a new love, new understanding. The way you love your wife today, after 30 years of marriage, is different than the way when you fell in love with her 30 years ago. If you kept that love with strength, well, you still love her the same. And that love you created, it brought in a different combination. But during the time of 30 years, you have eaten different foods, you've been breathing different air and everything else. So the energy of what you fell in love with is changed. It takes 3 to 5 years. It's the same as a cancer. When you have a wish to die, within 5 to 7 years, we see the sign of cancer. It's the same with the food, with the falling in love. You consume different energies, and that energy brings a different elevation. So we understand this. Now we understand it more or less fully in the dimension of physicality. Any other question?
Okay, we've got another question in the Q&A here from Luciane of the Brazilian community. Mr. Keshe, could we listen every day with our headphones to the Plasma Reactor Group recording where you made the remote transmutation tests with the knowledge seekers?
You can listen every hour, every minute. What you get out of it, that's what it counts. What does it bring you? What does it change in you? How does it elevate your soul? How does it elevate the strength of your soul? That's all it counts. But in the coming time, when we bring back the people from the moon and the Mars, you will see the soul of the man's elevation will change. It's not just that we're sending people to go. We bring the changes to bring that change, the messengers of understanding the new world of creation. We're not making new celebrities. We're not making new cults. We had a guy from core team forcing himself, I'm a core team, I have to. No, it's the elevation of who you can elevate. How you can elevate the energies and whatever. Of yourself and the others, what you can give for them to elevate. So, it's irrelevant. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question here from Darian in the Q&A. We've seen many new knowledge seekers coming into the group from Brazil looking for a solution through plasma technology for autism, and they want to learn how to make GANs to eliminate mercury. Can you enlighten us on this topic? What do knowledge seekers need to understand in order to bring balance and understanding into their lives?
I don't go into this because it opens a big Pandora box, especially with the Americans, with autism and everything else. But there is a way to overcome the autism through the technology, and in a very rapid way. And will it bring a new dimension to life? And we will test this with a new units for autism. Autism is a very tricky game. Very, very tricky how to create it. In the reports to Senate, now whatever it's confirms the connection of the substances to immunizations, medical injections we receive. So we know this. And we have to be very careful. These lobbies are very strong and they can do all sorts of things. But in general, autism can be changed very rapidly, very, very rapidly. It's very much like a blindness. There is a solution, there is a pattern with it. They have to have a system with it. And autism is reversible, 100%. As I said, till last week, we were strained by the, what we call restrictions by the fake court in Belgium, 7th of August passed. But now we are very much involved in a very direct way with a high level, with what we call scientific world, but with public, in changing and bringing a new dimension into what we call the health application and what I call improving in the life. We have a certificate from Naturopathic of Belgium to produce the systems, and we put it directly to the doctors how to do it and narrate it. Autism is as easy to change as you drink a glass of water. But you have to understand how and the way it is. But anything to do with other space of elements, taking out the elements, Alzheimer's and that kind of thing, Parkinson, has a very fast track to do. Many of you seen it, but we did in China. in China, what we did to get the guy literally running after 5 days of wanting to drive. You've seen that with your monitor. It's the same process. There is a solution for all this: autism, ADHD, fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, and the rest. And it's not a big problem. It's not only the problem of Brazil. In Brazil, you can talk about it. The other sides, they kill you for it. We saw Peter in Belgium. When he exposed these things, they even took the thing to the parliament to say the guy is insane and put him in a mental institute. These laws are very, very powerful. We have the same thing here in Austria. We have one woman doctor who's very well paid by the lobbyists, and she causes most of the problem for the Keshe Foundation. In a way, she's a prostitute in her, what I call PhD, to get paid to stop the Keshe Foundation. We have this directly in Austria now with one woman. We had the same thing with Belgium. When I came back from Iran, I was requested to go to the office of the Prime Minister of Belgium, and we went there with Dirk. A woman came in, and she was what we call air blow fans, we call windmills, and she had to stop everything with Keshe because she was getting well paid by, as a lobbyist, as a member of the cabinet advisory, to push her way. But the new generator plasma unit we launched today will put an end in all to this, because there is no mystery. When you can produce 10 kilowatt and you can gas the house, there's nothing to question. And the what I call health processing system of the Keshe Foundation is very direct. We elevate the soul. There's no signs of physicality. We've seen it. Many people who've been through the enhancement unit, they tell us what changes for them. Any other question?
Yes, a question from Nicola and Lucia in our chat here. What elements do we have to add to the combined gas power generator from time to time? I would like to know more about making plasma gases.
Well, that's a part of the technology of the Keshe Foundation. We do not let it. You cheated us, you betrayed us, and we see you're incompetent to do it, so we carry on doing it the way it should be. You cheated yourself, not us. Us as a foundation, you did. I learned this very much from the Italians, and then we learned from the Italians again. We had a visitor from Italy to Keshe Foundation, 1111 guy, and he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. He lied to our staff. He came into video, and then he didn't get his way. He went to destroy the Keshe Foundation, another Italian, what they call a scam job. So we learn from experience not to let things go till we have a full control. We can bring the full change back. A guy wrote to me from Iran, you have to tell us how you make the gas. Is that right? Is that right? Your right is animal right, not the universal right. And you behave like animal, and you live like animals, and you expect to have everything to become a more powerful animal to do more damage. They have not been done. This time we do it. We learn from what we experienced of the past. We go back to governments and work through governments to have everybody has the same. We learn a lot from Italy. And we learn how, we have found out recently how Italian factory was handed over to the Italians. The warehouse manager slept with the closest person in the Keshe Foundation. Now you know how we lost it. We're told how to do it and the way to do it in bed. So we learned how we who we share our bed with. And these are the things we're learning. I set up the Keshe Foundation in a very clear way. I trusted that the Keshe Foundation people will be like the Jewish people I always dealt with in my business. In the Jewish community, when you work, nobody betrays no one, more or less. Accident can happen, but it brings solidarity. It's your work. I never lost a cent in the Jewish community 20 years of work. And if it happened, it was looked after as a mistake and it was corrected. And when I set up the Keshe Foundation, I believe the knowledge seekers will come from that kind of mentality. They'll be correct people. But I found out the most dishonest people come under the cover of the Keshe Foundation to deceive and steal and do everything else as knowledge seekers. So my attitude in the past 2 or 3 years totally has changed. We treat you exactly the way it was before. People we trust enough, we work with enough, and we expand enough. And the rest have to be dealt with what I call governance. And that's the best way to do it. Because then everybody gets the benefit of it. That's and it's irrelevant. We won't teach, we do not put technologies out for you lot to go and try to skive it up and damage the others and try to damage the foundation. You made us wise. You made us to see what you're capable of, so we protect the rest. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question in the live stream from Douglas. If I take the trip to another galaxy and find the planet I wish to stay at there, what happens to my physicality here when I want to stay there?
You take it with you. You're still connected, but it goes with you. You take a, you in a way you can, in a way you have to understand. You can transmute on Earth because everything is the same field, strength-wise. You can manifest yourself in 2 dimensions. When you go into a different strength, it's a different gameplay. If you do not understand what to do, you can lose a soul of physicality. And these are the things man will learn accordingly. In time you learn what you can do, what you cannot. As I said, you become like a child when you pick up the hot coal and you put it in your mouth, burning. We don't do it second time. Any other question?
Okay, we have another traveling question from Peng Peter in the YouTube. When traveling to different places through the dimension of the soul, will my memory of the site I previously went to remain intact?
Yes, of course. You'll find out in the coming time when you do it the correct way. Memory of the others become your memory in the universe. That's why you'll speak the language. We had this with the 2 Brazilians who came on the 2nd of August to the Keshe Foundation Center. We have many. We had English people coming in and going, and we tried to speak English with them. I wasn't there. I was told by the people who were looking after these two. I mean, if they're on the panel, they can talk to themselves. Apparently, one of them explained he doesn't speak very good English, but he was speaking a fluent, rapid English till he was questioned, and then he stopped back to. We learn languages. We don't learn, we connect to languages through the enhancement structure. We learn through the enhancement is a universe. It's a replication universe. So if we can go into a system, we see this with many people who come to a lens. Go in with a spoken English, and they come back in and they speak, they explain themselves, because they tap into, as we said, the language. When you go from England to China and you go through the transportation system, you have to have somebody to explain to you. You need a translator. But if you go through the transportation system, I wonder if you need one, unless you decide to. And we've seen it if the Brazilian couple who came to this on the 2nd of August are on the line, bring them in, they explain. We tap into the language we need. That's why we say we need as many people from around the world. As you go on the translation, it says American English, New Zealand, Australian English, or English UK. Each one carries a different message. One is a pavement and one is a sideway or sidewalk or a sidewalk, whatever you call it. Yes, it does. Another question.
Jalal has a hand up. Go ahead, Jalal.
Yeah, with 5 questions this time. Hi, Jalal.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. Hello, everyone. Yes, maybe I have 3, 4, 5 questions. First question, in the past teaching, you said the best place I can take the man to learn how to travel the space is Saturn. Is that still exist in the plan of the foundation?
You can go anywhere. You see, Saturn has many moons and many conditions, and the conditions between the conditions. You look at the moons of the Saturn, we look at how these moons interact, what they create. When you look at the Saturn with its moons, you see a beautiful atomic structure. And I wish I would have released the paper, the structure of the Saturn. Saturn has a very composite structure where it's superimposed. And then you have the ring of the Saturn, which sitting outside. And then you have the moons of it and the rest of it, and you have the ice rings. These ice rings are conformation of layers. This layer connects to this ring, for example. This layer connects to this ring. This is of the hydrogen, this is of the helium, this is of, let's say, potassium, whatever. Different inertia field forces. So when you have the moons here of Saturn, it's not just the moon, it's what's the interaction between the fields of them, and then the interaction with center. So with 11, 12 electrons, you get a very good, what do you call it, diversity of the fields. And it teaches you a lot before you go into space. Is what I call molecular structure of the plasmas and the field control. When you look at any gaseous planet, you see the rings. Those rings confirm to you what gases and what layers are sitting, creating different inertias. That's why you see in the rings of the Saturn different size, what do you call it, ice blocks. And this is how your electrons work in the atomic structure. Your electrons in the outer boundary have different energy system and the interaction than the ones in the inner. It's just because of the field forces they carry, nothing else.
And the hexagonal shape of it?
On the top, on the North Pole, you mean?
Yeah.
That is explained in the same paper. And I've explained this before. Go back into the medical teaching. I think it's in there somewhere. The hexagonal shape of the top layer, or what do you call it, the North Pole of the Saturn, is very simple. You created it with your skin. If you look at your skin has this shape. If you look very close. This shape comes from interaction of the different layers of gases or nanomaterials. When you look at it, the inner skin, the second skin, or whatever, then you create the hexagonal shape of the skin. Our skin is a mirage of interaction of fields. And each one layer creates two of the sides of the pressure. If you understand it. Look at your skin, you see it. So when you look at the pole of the sun, on Earth we have it as well. The North Pole of the Earth has a very small hexagonal shape because we have a very loose combination of it. The interaction of the fields of three layers, gas layers, and a structure of inside creates this hexagonal shape, which brings stability. This is the gas state. And these layers are moving with different speeds and different, sometimes, directions. And this creates the interaction of the fields. Totality creates the shape of the hexagon on the top of the planet. We understood this a long time ago. It's been explained in teachings. I think it's in one of the books, maybe. But the hexagonal shape of the you put a reactor with the three layers with different gases, dynamic. You will see a field hexagon on top of it. It's the balance of the field. When you have more layers, you see more complex fields.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. A second question. It's not
The third
really...
question.
Okay. We see the situation now around the world of drought and lack of energies and all of that. Is that device what you are showing today? It's the beginning of the solution for them?
In so many ways, man has created part of this. And in so many ways, as I say, it's in a bigger plan. I always said, man will accept this technology, not out of the beauty of it, but as a fear of his own demise.
Unfortunately, yes.
We are getting to that point. We're getting to that point. And everybody looks at it as an economical way to make money, to earn money, and the rest of it. It's very interesting, very, very interesting. I received a report, a video of Parliament of Iran. A discussion in the Parliament, a member of the Parliament asks how come the minister, who is the guy who wrote the paper against the vaccination, now has become a member of the cabinet. He's in favor of the vaccination. What has changed? And somebody wrote very simply, the bank account. You understand?
Yeah, this is the problem we have.
And this is a problem we have, but in time will change. we're in the right place, right time. The pressure on the Keshe Foundation is beyond. They're trying, but on the other hand, we see them, they come to us working for their lives. They bark like a dog when it comes to them with cancer, does tame as a snake.
I wish they open another account that we can elevate their souls with it.
We see, we shall.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Jalal, join us in the group as the first 20.
Keep it a secret.
No, I said don't keep it a secret. Join us in the 20 people. So you have the rights.
I will be there, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Just I have to change my system. Just 1 second. Running out of battery on one. Can you hear me now?
Yes, indeed.
Just let me mute you on that. Okay, now it's perfect. Because one is running out of battery. Okay, what's next?
Okay, in the Q&A from Trevor, with the elevation through the gas units, that's gas units, if all souls have access to both physical and soul dimensions, what will happen to the trees physically through elevation?
What do you mean?
Well, he's saying that the elevation through the, I guess, the CO2 gas units, if all souls have access to both the physical and soul dimensions, what will happen to essentially the trees physically through
We all
their
get to
elevation?
the trees and the shrubs and the animals and the stones will get the same elevation. Without exclusivity on that. That's why we brought it up this way.
Will they change physically, I guess would be the question.
Yes, yes, of course they do.
So trees might hover on over the earth instead of having their roots stuck in.
No, not really. It's always the point of balance, isn't it? Not really. Have they uprooted everything? No. In that level of work, it's totally different dimensions.
Okay, we have a question from Jefferson, again from Brazil. Brazil has been quite popular today.
Very active, huh? They don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
They have a guy called Rafael. He doesn't stop. They don't stop.
Mm-hmm. Says, thank you very much for your presence among us. I would like to help reduce or eliminate hunger in the world. If I use the GANs produced by the cup of food, which you explained in the 358th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, in a stellar configuration made with dynamic reactors, will I be able to feed the people close to this structure? Thank you very much.
You can feed anyone through the structure. The beauty with the understanding is, if you understand it in a way, is we say in English you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. You can create the dynamic structure of the food, but if the soul is not there to receive it, you can make as many food systems as well. Haven't we done that with the man? Haven't we sent so many messengers to elevate the soul of man? How many of them have listened and how many have changed? Those who chose, those who wanted the elevation. Otherwise, the rest has been maybe not a waste of time, but another a slower process. Any other question?
I'm wondering if the story of Christ and the bread and fish feeding the masses had something to do with a cup of food of some sort technique. Do you have any inside information on that?
It's just a man put a name onto it, isn't it? Over the bread and wine and the rest of it. But in essence, it's the love and the energy of loving and giving. But that's what people understood at that time. So that's what it came to be what we know today.
Okay, along those lines, we have a question from Trevor. He says, I also want to know, when we move to connect through the souls of our ancestors to find the truth about the crucifixion of Christ, will it be like those people are there to witness what those souls saw with their own eyes? Or will we be witness to history like we were present?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. Who's been present, who hasn't. As I explained to you, we had a lady, we had two people. We had the lady, I explained this before. She spent all her life trying to see Christ, to be connected to him. And when she went through the enhancement unit, and she came out, and she refused. She says, I don't want to be recorded. I don't want even to write it. And her husband was with us. And she says she refused to. But because he was aware of her emotion, she explained to us the color of the skin, the hair, the dress, the walking. She could explain to us fully about Christ. We have a good description of it. And it befits into what I call what we always said. Where he came from, it couldn't be any different. But the communication with him. So you can now explain a lot. And she was of the, what I call, dominant structure of Middle East mixture, the time of Christ. It was very interesting. She's not a white Italian, as you call it. And it was very interesting. So I went through the soul dimension, and her ancestral line was present during the time of Christ, not during the time of the crucifixion. And the communication lines was in the line as it was. It was very interesting going through this. And we had people who went through the system and they felt the presence of the soul of Christ. We had 2 or 3 people who did this, but not the manifestations of physical dimension. We'll see this without a doubt. Christ lived for 30 odd years. He came across hundreds, thousands of people who spoke. They've seen him, they know him. Some lived with him, some shared bread with him, as we call it. And these people, all of them, had children, had souls which they have been in touch with. And the same as the memory of where the cell of your kidney will be, the memory of the talks and his presence is within them. This is what we call the RNA side, not the DNA side, the energy back. And the memory goes back to the time of the creation. If some of us reach that point in our set, we can even see the soul of the Creator to understand his language. So people who have seen, what do you call it, Christ during his time in Palestine, as maybe children they've seen him crossing. They made him a frog. They sold the bread to him. They followed him. All these people still created children. And those children carry the exact memory of what he looked like. We carry the DNA. We copy our parents, as they say, up to 500 generation backwards, which actually goes to from the beginning of the time, because otherwise some of us won't have a kidney, some of us won't have eyes or whatever. So everything is recorded and is added. So they carry it. And yes, if you have a descendant who came through Palestine at the time of Christ, and you were there when it happened, don't forget the population of Palestine wasn't that big at that time. And where he was, or in Jerusalem, few tens of thousands, and more or less it was like a village type compared to today. Everybody knew of one thing or that. So we all have, if you come from that kind of background. I carry a Kohen, which means through my mother, I'm connected back to the generation. So in presence is very simple. Those of coming from that position and direction are, they carry, you see it. And on the other side, I come from the blood of Muhammad. So the presence is both, but the same soul. I've been brought up amongst Sayyid, which means the direct blood of Muhammad. Brought, fed, and ate, and blooded by the same lines. They're both from the mother's side. So there must be understood that we carry this with us if you've been present. Any other question?
Can we also pick up that those lineages or those entities, the Christ and Mohammed, can others pick that up through, say, artifacts or other connections with the past of the physicality type things?
I think most of us know, if we don't know. We don't have anything which is actually belongs to Christ. But we have more or less most of the clothes, especially the latter part of the life of blessed his name Muhammad. And every few years, these clothes are displayed somewhere around the world by the Saudi royal family. I think very recently, 3, 4, 5 years ago, they showed the clothes which Muhammad wore during his lifetime. They're treasured, they're kept by the, what we call, religious part of the Saudis. So we can even, if haven't watched her, we can even go back to DNA and recreate many of the people even who touched it, touched the robe, came in touch with it, and then with the present science and technology, find the bloodline done it. In the Iran Shia side, which is connected directly to the blood of Muhammad, many of what they call among his descendants, his great-great-grandchildren, which some of their clothing and parts have been kept and people have touched. We can go back to their DNA. This is a present science, it's not what they call scientific, that can support this. Science can fully support this. It's not a fiction. So Yes, if you can find what Christ, or even if you can't find the cross he was put on, you can bring all of it back.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense with the DNA and so on. So are our human bodies or human sensors sensitive enough to pick up on that DNA and actually perhaps get that information even on a nano level from a few
Possibly, yes. Possibly, yes. Don't forget that the DNA carries the soul of physicality. Soul of physicality had a connection to the soul.
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible because now we understand the science. Unless you're a hypocrite, you can. Unless you are totally denying everything which is existing in the scientific world, you can. Don't forget you go to China and you can choose the color of the eye of your child, the hair and everything else. So if they can interfere with it, they can rebuild it backwards too.
Okay, thank you. I have a question in YouTube from Peng Peter. If any of the universal community asks for help in the future, will the intervention be justified?
It depends how it is and what's the purpose. Yes. Many times they ask for help. Many times they receive. It's not the first time. Cultures, societies, which have been pure in their work and they live the perfect life in a way. When it comes to, for example, their planetary system or the environment system collapses or is about to collapse, when the soul of the community asks for help, the universal community responds. Done many times. And still no. There is a few going on at the moment around the universe. Physicality forces what we call accidents for things to take shape. There is a society, there is a what I call community in the universal work that their job is like what you call SOS. They're there to rescue the souls. They never carry the physicality, hardly ever. But carrying those souls and all the same, it's not an easy job. We hardly have lost civilizations by accident. They've always been preserved one way or another. When you see the galaxies blowing up to pieces, they literally blow up empty of living soul life. Majority is emptied because it's done compared, I'll call it billions of years. You see it about to crash, you see it all the time. So the facilities for moving is there. The knowledge is there to do. It's a specific race who has achieved the knowledge of the creation and does this. It's a privilege. Any other question?
Can I jump here, please?
Yes.
Today, good. I have a lot of time to ask questions. Mr. Keshe, there is two questions. the copper 59 and you consider it 49. This difference in between the numbers, is it the inertia in a way?
The first one is inertial field forces. The other one is a plasma field forces.
Is it due to the condition, or this is what this matter state appears?
Yes, it's due to condition. It's due to the inertia of the Earth. It's the difference between mass and weight. 59 is, if you look at it from the plasmatic world, is the weight. 15 to 49 is the mass.
And in regarding the spirit in this
In which
condition,
way? It's the same.
the
Condition
same.
to the position. Condition to the position.
okay. What do you have of idea about this James Webb telescope? And you know, we know in the plasmatic way there is no
What?
such a
About what?
distance. This James Webb telescope, the recent pictures,
I have no idea. I don't have time to look at this.
yeah, they showed new pictures of the deep space, and they say this is from billions and the beginning of the creation. And we know in the plasmatic technology there is no such a thing. Whatever you see in the time, it is there in the same time. It is only the distance in our solar system or our galaxy which is make this time.
You see the field strength in a matter state. You see the field strength in the plasma state. It's the plasmatic which are instantly there, not the matter state you're there. You understand?
How we can distinguish this, Mr. Cash?
It's like when you go in a system, when you go into the gas, what do you call it, enhancement system. This is where we don't allow any films to be taken from the enhancement room. But it's amazing. I've said this before. People tell you, we heard you, we hear a voice telling us, but we don't see this blurred. I'm just about 20 centimeters away from it. And I tell them to go to the moon. And they say, we heard it. But in fact, it's my soul which gets in touch with the soul and says, go to the moon. Physicality is just a translator. As simple as that. I've had with many people who went through the enhancement units. We heard the instruction. I instruct the soul through the soul, but use the voice of the man, and the physicality is inside the soul. They hear it and they do it. Because, goes back to the same point, trying to give to please. And when you don't give them instruction, they sit there for hours. Nothing happens because they're just waiting for the flight to be announced, as I call it. Any other question?
Is that because the people who is going there, they expect to receive? That's why that is the difference.
Very much so. Very much so. Very, very much. We have this problem with very knowledge just come in and they sit there and they get nowhere because of the expectation. So I just came here to give. But what is underlying? What is there? And what does the soul doesn't want you to see?
This is always like this. It's always also in the beginning of your teaching with when Rick and the others built this ball, and you told them just sit there and see what happened. And after a while, you said you went there to receive, but you didn't went there to give. So try now to give and see what will happen.
It's a condition. It's always said, if you learn it, always take what is needed. Until it's not needed, the time will not be there for it. And I've shown this to the knowledge seekers who are around me. And when things happen, I tell them, because it's not there, there's no time. Say, oh, this is whatever. No, because we have to understand there's a bigger purpose behind it, not just what we want. And this is the whole structure.
One addition, Mr. Keshe. Last week you asked about past teaching for the knowledge seekers. I think if the knowledge seekers go to the private teaching in the 17th or 18th of November 2015. No, it's 18th of November 2015 in the private teaching. I think they will find what you asked last week, and the transmute and the filtering and everything. They will be benefit from it.
What do you mean by that?
What is it, Mr. Keshe?
What do you mean by that?
The connection with which we targeted, what we want, and how we connect. Even with the soul. I know you don't remember yesterday what you eat for dinner. But
yeah. Just 1 second. Something has come up very urgent. Just 1 second, please. Just 1 second, please. Hello. Sorry about that.
Hello. Yep.
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that. You asked too many questions. You got confused.
It's okay, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. No, it is only for the knowledge seekers, because they have questions about where to find the old teachings, what you mentioned. And it's happened that in November 2015, the 18th, it have a lot of this answering their questions if they go there. And
you see, nothing has changed over the past 10 years. We just expand on the same thing. And then when you go back to the past teaching was there, you just built up on the more information to be there.
In the way you said it, Mr. Keshe, and before about the 400 knowledge seeker workshop, he said we will start teaching, and then you will realize that the knowledge was there, but you didn't connect to it, and then in a way you will kick yourself. Why you didn't see it?
I mean, it's like the new power generator. You lot will kick yourself how you couldn't get your magas working.
Don't mention my name.
By the way, how is your secret society going? Have you managed to do it?
Mr. Keshe, we are in what we call vacation. I think we will start next week to join together, and I think we will make the connection next week. I hope. All of them is here, but you know.
Yeah, I see them. I see your team.
they put it on me.
I see the musketeers. I call them in the background. I know how you're working with it.
But as you said, we are working good.
You're there. You're there. You're getting there.
Okay.
I've seen your equipments on the table.
By the way, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Welcome. Join me, especially for the next year flight. There's a reason for it. Someone says, hi, can I join the secret society? No, they're very secret. I only know of them because I monitor them on the Zoom. Not monitor, I've just been invited to be. When I found out about the secret society, they couldn't keep
Just
me
ask
out.
him how much he paid, no problem.
Thank you very much, Jana. Any other question? We're nearly 12:30. We're going for about 3.5 hours.
Is that group still accessible through the private students?
No.
Group?
This is a very secret society. These are you don't want to get involved with them. How many is there? 4 or 5? I think it's in the group. They work very good.
We have one of them, but he's never joined, you know, and he's in the background. He's in a way, sometimes he clapped his hands, sometimes he laughed at us, you know, but he never joined.
Who's that one?
I will not tell his name.
Any other question? Or shall we call it a day?
Well, we've got a couple of hands up here. Maybe we can have a couple of quick questions before we wrap up here. Would that be okay?
Yep.
Okay, we have Dimitri and Marinez. Go ahead, Dimitri first, and then Marinez.
Thank you, Rick. Mr. Keshe, my question to you is how and what is the Keshe Foundation going to do about drugs on this planet? Because they destroy the true purpose of people's lives. Thank you.
We have the knowledge. We have shown using it. But when you elevate the soul and we're going through that process, this becomes irrelevant. And we are in that track. And
do you have a time frame?
Not really, because we've done nearly 10 years ago. We can change addictions in minutes. And
if addictions can be changed in minutes, why does the Keshe Foundation not implement that now on a global scale?
Very simple. We have addiction of different kinds. And it's like the guy told me, if you make gold, why are you asking for donation? Make as much gold as you can and sell it. Man has to go through this process themselves. Our factory in Tijuana, in Mexico, is in the center of drug trafficking. And last week, there was a big clash between different gangs and killing each other and burning places. We don't get involved. It's not part of us. It's part of the work of the elevation of the soul. Has to be done. And when it's done, it'll be done in totality. We are born to be addicted and we are rewarded by it. Our sexual behavior is one, falling in love with that. Which addiction do you want me to eradicate?
Is that a question?
Yes, power is another one, and wealth is another one. It's all part of addiction. You look at it at cocaine or whatever, or drugs, all addictions are part of the same. It only comes when the soul of man passes the soul of physicality. And then there is no addiction. And this is what, if you listen to some of the intros, when you look at from outside, you just see stars. You don't see if a star is a soul of a king or a peasant. In time will be sorted, in time will not be there to be done. We put out tomorrow that we have a solution for addiction and balance cannot sell. Do you know what happens to Keshe Foundation? None of you will exist, you'll be open. So we do it the correct way. And
I have one more question. Go on, sorry.
This is part of the process. What's your next question?
Okay, thank you, thank you. My next question is in actually it's in relation to, well, it's about suicide.
Yeah.
Now you have mentioned that when a human murders another human, they go back to the beginning of creation. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, in a way, yes.
You've also said that suicide is not allowed for people that have committed suicide.
Suicide is not allowed because the
what
soul hasn't reached its maturity. It's like the people who commit a crime. When you see, you can die next minute. The minute before, you cannot commit suicide. Because that minute of time is needed for soul to reach its maturity, point of departure. That can overcome the imprisonment of the soul of physicality. Once the soul of the man freed, has no dimension till he chooses by his own strength and his own soul. It's like cutting a flower before it blooms. What was the purpose of planting the flower? It's forbidden, it's not there, it's just, you cannot leave a soul not to mature to its point. This is why killing is such a heinous crime. You don't allow the soul to reach its maturity to serve in the other dimension. That's all. You cannot steal. Any other question?
What actually happens? What actually happens though? You've said that if someone murders another person, they go back to the beginning.
It's you have to compensate. You have to compensate for what you've taken. That's all. You have less once you compensate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Okay, one last one with Mehran, and then we'll wrap it up.
Good day, Mr. Keshe. Good day, Rick, everybody. With a lot of joy and the advancements. And now that we are in the mysteries of life, I permitted myself to ask about what they talk about the punishment, divine punishment of Lot and the people who did wrong by certain values. And now with your teachings, we can come out of these mysteries and say, okay, maybe the creation of all these harps at the time created the anger of the earth, the emotion of the earth, or maybe the beings over the sky, or the destructive way of life they had taken, but it takes some time before they can destroy themselves. So how was this thing called divine punishment happened? Or
A lot of rubbish.
But it's
there is no divine punishment. The divine punishment is that you know you cannot do wrong and you pay for it.
Yeah.
And you pay with your back. Is something people can't understand, so they put a divine punishment. The day of judgment is the day of the balancing of the book of your own soul, nobody else's. You got to remember, there is 7 billion people on this 8 billion soon, and all the time, billions die every year, 2 years, if you add it up collectively. So there is a collection of hundreds of billions from the time when life for man is something. Forget about the animals, the trees, and the thing. Can you imagine the queue of people now queued up for the day of judgment? Can it exist? The divine punishment is you knowing that when you're done, you have less to go with. That's all. That's divine. That's the secret. How do you want to do it? You want to put punishment into it? You want to put the Ruz Qiyamat, whatever you want to call it. It's just made up for people to be afraid of. Reality, you are the captain of the ship. You decide where to anchor the ship. And that's divine. And once you understand that responsibility.
It's written that the Lut people were doing wrong, some actions, which is not good. And they didn't know it. They think it's fashion. They think it's good. And God said sent to prophet to say to Lut, to this good guy, the prophet, leave the city tonight and let those who were there don't look back. And they will be destroyed, and just don't look back. And his wife looked back and he became a stone. So how do you explain this?
Well, you have to see what's the truth about it. what it means. If you take the soul of physicality, yeah, and convert it in energy, you can become a stone. That's all, as simple as that. If you develop the energy of the soul of physicality reaches the level of the energy of a stone in inertia, you become a stone. That happens in your body. You call it tooth, you call it bone. And that's why bones and teeth are the only thing left when you die in the physical dimension. This is simple. This is a knowledge. Now we understand it, so it's totally irrelevant.
It takes time to become
instantaneous. It's instantaneous.
Is it like the Maya people, some people you said destroyed, they get vanished? Is it the same
You know
phenomenon?
what? It's not. It's just that you got to understand the process. There were people in the human cycle that they could manage themselves to stone them back to a living thing. If you carry the soul inside, it's the same as you can become Chinese looking when you go to China, and you become African looking in Africa. It's just understanding the chameleon of the soul, not chameleon of the physicality.
Another thing, thank you, is that, you know, when you say, my wish is my command, and we are creator, some people say that because that's what you kind of, I have problem with this word, I'm creator, because
Have you had children?
in a way, yes.
Did you give birth to any children?
Give birth? No.
So you are a creator. When you're a mother, you're a creator of that child. But you can be no mother, but create a love for a child, and you still create of new emotion in that child.
Yes, I accept that. But
So,
if I'm a creator, I'm big. So I'm not
no,
given
who
from God.
says?
Creator is
says?
kind of power.
No. If you create a statue, do you have a power over a statue? Move, sit, move, left, right. We don't have that. It's what we envisage, what suits us to befit us and befit our emotion.
Yeah, because we say there is only one God.
Yeah. And there are many gods.
Okay. And when you say my command is my wish is
It's my decision. It's my decision, and that'll be it. I decide, and that'll be it.
But can I say that also?
Yes.
My wish is my command.
You decide to go to the shop to buy the clothes, it's your command. You decide to go. If you sit, the clothes doesn't come from the shop to you, does it? Yeah?
Yeah, but it's not instantaneous. You know,
One is in the dimension of
process.
the soul, and one is in the dimension of physicality.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So it's
Thank you
okay.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much for today.
Mr. Keshe,
Yes.
Please. You just said there are many gods. Do you want to wait until next week to expand on that?
The God is us. Translation of the God as a creator, not translation of God as the big creator of everything. You understand? There is a philosophy which we come into it when man matures, even our creator as a creator. Otherwise, how was he created? You understand?
But where does that change stop? Does it
Never.
stop?
It becomes us. It comes back to us to become them, to become us as what? As one.
Kind of like with the technology when you're feeding it back into yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much for today. Thank you for everything. Don't forget, please join us in the Moon and the Mars excursion, as I call it, into bringing the dimension. And when you join us, we will not choose who will be the first. We leave it amongst you to decide who will be the first to go through this process. We'll introduce you in a way for you, like the Universal Council members, when there are too many to become. We allow them to decide who will become the Universal Language member of the Council. We do the same, hopefully, with those who will be the first group to become the people who take the excursion to the moon or to Mars, and we leave it to the group to decide who will be the first. There is a reason for it. I'll explain in time. So those of you who join us to become the first group to take man into space, the true way, not with the suit of the monkey, through the strength of the soul of the man, you have to decide, because many of you have to support that soul with your soul. It's a callback time, they call it, and then we understand. So it becomes a collective effort of the human race to adventure to that space and time, and then open the universe to man with the knowledge of the creator, not the knowledge of the man with the monkey suit. And on the other hand, as I said, with the generators, we have given you the biggest gift, that it makes man independent from everything else. And if you want to go for it, just go through the system as a 2 kilowatt generator and put in there what you have put in and what you want, which one you want. Thank you very much for today, and hopefully we meet each other next week. Thank you, Rick, and everybody in the background supporting the program.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for yet another Knowledge Seekers Workshop number 446 here today on Thursday, August 18th, 2022. Thank you, everybody, for your questions and comments. And again, thank you, Mr. Keshe, for being there and developing and producing this teaching. Okay, I think we're going to, let me announce the next public workshop, which I'm just looking up the date here, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace on Tuesday, August 23rd. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time with members of the Universal Council. And you can bring your questions for their using the soul to produce solutions. Okay, and let's wrap it up for now. We're going to end with one of our old favorites, which is the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit music version. And again, thank you all for attending, and we'll see you in the next public teaching workshop.